Wow, what a phenomenal biennial weekend we have experienced. We can measure things in so many different ways. We can quantify things. Normally, we would have about 300 people physically present at a biennial weekend, and we have had around 1,500 people. That's just registered, not counting all of the other people who have watched online and consumed. I know there was even a few of my colleagues who hadn't quite got round to registering as well amongst those numbers. So there must have been closer to 2,000 people experiencing this biennial. But even if we just go on the registered numbers, 5 times the number of people accessing this biennial weekend than who would have been able to be physically present for one. And what about the quality? What an incredible level of thought has been expressed. The theme has spoken to presenters and participants personally, amongst congregations, within the movement and more globally as well. And it's been incredible to have people from outside of liberal Judaism commenting and giving their thought in response to the way that we have been thinking. A huge big shout out to the conference committee and the strategy and comms team of liberal Judaism. Collaboratory was an inspired concept. What about the definition of collaboratory? Some of us have had difficulties getting the word out, but what of the definition and how do we grab hold of it? The collaboration has been clearly demonstrated throughout this biennial. We've included a really incredible, diverse group of voices, and yet also demonstrated a confident and unified voice. It has been a true collaboratory effort to bring everybody together and along on this journey. People, just regardless of their age, their location, have been able to access this, and that's been true when I've been able to identify members of my own congregation who, at the beginning of all of this, struggled to get online and get used to this new reality. And now here they were, enjoying the incredible depth of our collaboration, experiencing the diverse voices of all of my colleagues, all of the lay people who have contributed to this conference and enriched their Jewish experience. And then what about the laboratory side? Well, laboratory needs a huge amount of confidence. Huge amounts of confidence to, in a sense, let go and let that diversity loose. Sometimes there are contradictory opinions and thoughts. Sometimes we find ourselves in opposition to another. But knowing in this environment of collaboration that we can do so safely, securely, and that the outcomes will be new, powerful, and perhaps exceedingly dynamic. So we can approach this COVID period, as we have done as a liberal Jewish movement, by changing and adapting without losing our own self-identity, because we can have a confidence in liberal Judaism, which is always moving, changing, adapting. We now know that we do that best when we come together in collaboration. This is not just a self-congratulatory note, though. There are significant areas where we know that we can hold our hands up and we can do better. Danny Rich, in his address, said, "I think we can be a little braver and a little less squeamish about the nature of modern relationships. We still have a long way to go in how we welcome the non-Jewish partners of our children." And certainly some of the comments which came in on Facebook to some of the sessions and some of the people who were speaking showed that that is quite true still. This can also be said in the area of social justice and action. Whilst we have so many liberal Jews and liberal Jewish congregations or communities doing and significantly engaged in this area, we can do a lot more to give volume to our voice. There are significant issues also that have been raised, both in the sessions that we have had and also with the questions that have been put this afternoon to me. I don't have the right to sit here all on my own, having had all of these wonderful panels, and just to be able to answer them all. Rather, I'd like to pose some of the questions that have been raised, and a downside of not actually being together in one room and you going into breakout rooms and talking about this right now. Instead, to come together at future opportunities. One of the consequences of our lockdown has been that our council meetings are full. You don't have to come down to London to the Montague Centre or up or sideways to the Montague Centre. You can be there quite easily in the comfort of your own home. And so lay leaders from communities have come together and begun to use those spaces to be able to talk with each other and to engage with the national movement in a new, enriched way. And indeed, every Thursday, there is the opportunity to come together with Liberal Judaism staff and rabbinic colleagues to talk about different areas of interest that we might share, exploring ways of collaboration. We also move towards, on the 7th of July, the AGM of Liberal Judaism. And so I do hope that this year will show the highest attendance at Liberal Judaism AGM for many decades. Please come and engage and engage in some of the questions that we face as a movement. It was very clear that a number of people were very concerned that we explore seriously the relationship, collaboration with other movements and institutions. And in particular, Reform Judaism and the Liabeck College were named by a number of people writing in. Frank Maxwell from Birmingham, Alison Turner from the Three Counties, and David Kirk from Northwoods and Pinner Liberal Synagogue. All concerned with how we might come together as three organisations, perhaps as one. The question was raised saying, well, we've had the progressive Jewish movements of the world and Europe coming and engaging with us through this process over this weekend. What about Liabeck College and Reform Judaism? Where are they in all of this? This is the question that we are seriously grappling with. And we're also focused on moving forward with the self-confidence of Liberal Judaism, clear about our own value set, clear in the understanding that we are actually in a very strong and confident situation, and to be able to make sure that we respond appropriately as trustees of Liberal Judaism, to ensure that we, unless we want to change them or think about changing them, think about the current constitution that we have as an organisation, and to make sure that we are true to them. So it will be that we will move forward into conversations with other organisations with strength and with self-confidence and a very clear understanding of what values that Liberal Jews want to maintain within any future organisation that they may be affiliated with. We've also had a couple of superb questions from Michael Hart. Michael asked, in the light of developments over the past couple of months, should we be revisiting ways of increasing greater sharing of rabbinic input between communities? Is the traditional model of each community having or aspiring to have its own separate rabbi looking rather dated? There are already situations where rabbis are collaborating. And as we look forward to Shavuot, we can see that a good number of our communities are coming together and our rabbis coming together to share their knowledge, experience, and skills together with lay people within the community and to share that with other congregations. This is not just an issue of big or small or matching people up. It's a matter of organically colleagues and communities coming closer and closer together. This period, of course, has allowed us to do that. And in response to that, I think that we need not fear competition, for collaboration is really what we are about. No one is trying to poach anybody's members. What we're trying to do is to provide more and more enriched experiences for liberal Jews, and those who are Jewish to come and explore. And my experience has definitely been that the more Jewish people do, the more connected they are with their congregation and have a desire to input to it. And a follow-up question, which is also immensely relevant to this time, is that given the development of technological initiatives, will we still continue to need so many synagogue buildings? Could there be a lot more sharing in future between different Jewish denominations or even with other organizations and faiths? I'm not going to try to even approach that one, but we know that it is a very good one. We are in a moment of great change, and who knows what is going to happen with physical property into the future. What we can say is that we within liberal Judaism and within our liberal Jewish congregations are demonstrating that we can still be community within our new reality. Within our congregation, I basically banned the word, or we have basically banned the word virtual. It's not virtual. It's our reality at the moment. And there will be times when we will get together and be able to touch each other or be in a physical space together. But we are in a space together now. And yes, there are some downsides. At the same time, we are creating community, maintaining community, and indeed, we are expanding the notion and name of community. One of the speakers that really, really impressed me during this biennial, somebody I haven't met before, was Owen Power from our Manchester liberal Jewish community. And he wrote this question or comment to us. Our biennial has surpassed all expectations. It has been a weekend of unity, optimism, and joy. I'm a member of the Manchester Liberal family, the smallest of our liberal Judaism communities. The success of the weekend is evidence. Collaboration is the way to go and will help to secure the survival of our small communities. It is my experience some fear collaboration, as they fear it will lead to a loss of identity. In my view, this fear is misguided and prevents a community from growing and reaching its full potential. To help secure the future of small communities, my question is, would liberal Judaism consider appointing an unpaid collaborative champion to liaise with our small communities, share good practice and coordinate informal meetings? 1,000 thanks to the biennial organisers for such a magnificent job they did. What a brilliant idea, and something that I know that we will want to respond to. Firstly, let me say that the Thursday evening opportunities will be continuing into the future. Perhaps into the future, they may not be every week, but certainly the power and importance of them has shown a real desire within our communities of all sizes to come together, to share ideas. And it has been a brilliant way for us to be able to communicate. And then also to be able to collaborate, because resources can then be shared when we know here is a need and here is a provider. And we've been able to match people up in this way. Owen, you have presented some really good questions and thought-provoking pieces around inclusivity within your speech. Many others have done as well, and we will be coming back to them. And I hope that people will really enjoy and come back to some of the seminars. Maybe you missed one, or maybe you wanted to go back and check out exactly what somebody said, because over the coming weeks, you'll be able to see those seminars as unique, distinct pieces. There's also a piece that came up. I don't know if Leo is around, and I haven't been able to have the wherewithal to read at the same time the comments coming up, as well as reading my screen and to be able to concentrate in speaking with you. I'm sorry, I'm getting far too old. But we have had a question which has come in about the nature of what liberal Judaism provides to community. this was, Leo is here fantastically so. It was my colleague, Leo Goldstein, who sent round to many of colleagues a piece from Andrew Keen, who is a very important leader within the World Union. And you can find his piece on e-Jewish philanthropy. He wrote, "There is one shift that I believe will catapult organizations towards long-term viability, a shift from program to platform." And so there's a question about what liberal Judaism is into the future as an organization. Is it the all-important programs that we necessarily provided, or is it a platform which is going to enable our resources to get out there? I, in particular, I'm sure that Charlie and Ruth are going to thank Leo later on, but I wanted the opportunity in particular to be able to personally thank Leo, not just Leo, but his entire family, and also all those connected in his team who have enabled this, because you have provided the platform. So, Leo, I just wondered if you wanted to respond to that idea from Andrew.
My personal view is that platforms enable things. They enable views and opinions, but the views and opinions are far, far more important than the platform. The book was a platform, TV is a platform, radio is a platform. The views and opinions are far more important, and it's enabling those, and now being able to allow those to be spread literally to every single corner of the world is just fabulous. But it's down to the people and their opinions, which are far more important than the platforms that we use.
That's amazing. Thank you, Leo. And I hope it's not the last time that we'll have the opportunity to thank you. We have the most incredible resources of human resources within thought and within action. And at the same time, we cannot underestimate this platform. We would not have been able to do this without having the platform. And you absolutely provided that. I know that all congregations and communities are considering the appropriate platforms that we use. And I've had the most wonderful engagement with Mark from Mosaic over the last few days, talking about the pros and cons of different approaches. And each community will choose different ones. There is not one right approach. And actually, again, this collaboration is about we amongst ourselves can provide different experiences. Northwood and Pinner is down the road from South, or in between South Bucks and Mosaic. Northwood and Pinner cannot provide the same experience as Mosaic and South Bucks, and equally those two can't do the same as Northwood. And it's providing that richness of experience that when we work in collaboration rather than in competition, we see that we're able to provide for liberal Jews and Jews full stop. And really, I hope that that will be our mission going forward, to look at what we can do using platforms to provide the basis for our wonderful human beings that we have within our movement, to provide thought leadership, and also to get off our tush and get into action and justice as well. Another question that was picked up was from the Wessex community, Gillian Dawson from the Wessex community, asking, and it was in response, I think, to the interfaith panel session today, saying that it's clear that friendships learnt young will be the future of interfaith good relations. I'd just like to say, having seen what LJY Netza has done, and to see their graduates, the Bogrim, Bogrot, contributing so unbelievably to this conference. And Charlie, I include you and me and so many of us, people like me who are a lot older than some of the people who have contributed, but it doesn't, each one have been the beneficiaries of having come through OPSNIC or LJY Netza or other youth movements and other groupings. So you're quite right, Gillian, that the friendships, not only the friendships, but the richness of identity that our youth movement provides us is absolutely vital. But you talk about this in an interfaith, with an interfaith perspective. And so you were saying, any suggestions on practical ways that this can be established in our synagogues, bearing in mind that some, in brackets including parents, are fearful or concerned to be able to put our foot in, I'm now adding my own words to that to extend that out a bit, to engage in this area. And well, we may be in different areas of the country with different demographics and working within very different communities, and our approaches may be different to it in that way. Again, I'm not going to seek to try to answer that question, but I think it's something that is really well worth us thinking about as a movement, but in particular also LJY Netzer, and to have them perhaps consider this. How can we reach out? They already do fantastic work. Certainly seeing them around Mitzvah Day and on many other occasions, working with people of other faiths, young people, bringing people together is inspirational. And so perhaps we can connect you up in that way as well. I'd love to invite all of you, as I say, to come along to our AGM on the 7th of July, to be involved. It has been my honor to be involved within liberal Judaism, as it then was, literally all of my life. I was born into it. Some of us convert into it through various different guises and have different journeys. But what has been incredible is to hear all of the Jewish stories that have been expressed through the Lily's Legacy podcast, which has been inspirational. Through hearing so many individuals talking amongst themselves and talking over lunch. How phenomenal. Normally we might get 30 to 50 people coming along maximum to a lunch and learn session, but we were talking very close to 100 households each time, so a couple of hundred people coming together. And this matches up with the experience of Janet Berkman, who spoke from the Peterborough Jewish community about how their community were down to almost single figures, but because of the engagement, the work with Danny Rich and within liberal Judaism, now she just offhand quoted 50 plus people. Well, that is quite miraculous. If we can times by 5 the number of participants at biennials, times by 5 the number of people that become engaged within our community, then we know that we will have been doing something right quantifiably. And at the same time, there is something absolutely qualitative about the way forward for us as a movement. We know that if we want to have a prophetic voice, to keep on saying that we do have a prophetic voice, we need to put ourselves out there. And one of the enduring quotes I think Lauren Kiley's gave today was quoting, she says, a colleague, but I'm amazed that she can just remember these things and provide these quotes. A leader should be 1 step ahead of their followers, but if they're 2 steps or further ahead, they might not be a leader, but just a person on a walk. And I think that's something that we absolutely need to engage with. It's not easy being leaders, and it's not easy being liberal Jewish leaders, putting our heads forward and sometimes leading people who don't necessarily want to move forward. I loved also the notion of the imperfect leader. It was one of the standout moments of the biennial for me, hearing Matthew Gould, a top civil servant at the heart of our contemporary disaster, in conversation with Danny Finkelstein, undeniably smart guys, and also utterly decent. It is the kind of realism, humility, and sense of purpose that I see in liberal Judaism at this junction. It is not necessarily about utter perfection, getting every little bit right, and especially not expecting that within each individual person. Rather, it's about building leadership teams that complement and challenge. The coronavirus pandemic has challenged Kolrak. It has seen us as a body fundamentally disagreeing with each other. And yet those disagreements have been our strength, each one of us hearing each other in the most respectful of ways. It is true that decisions have to be made by leaders, but they are most respected when those leaders are surrounded by those who provide divergent viewpoints. This was for me a key take-home from this session, and something that I hope will provoke us all to seek out teams, people that we can collaborate with, not just those who agree with us, but sometimes those who fundamentally disagree. In that way, we will truly be able to move forward. I have thoroughly enjoyed being in this collaboratory. It has been a space, an experience, and it has been one that has utterly engaged so many people. Who would have thought we would have spent so much time in front of our screens and cameras? Many, many people doubted that. But we have proven that we are able to be together as community, to be together as liberal Jews, to bring together 40 plus communities, and to engage with each other as one liberal Jewish movement.
Thank you so much, Aaron. What a fantastic way to bring together everything from this conference. I'm not quite sure how you do it, but every biennial you manage to not only do the most incredible sum up of what has happened, but also still leave us with big questions and things to take away, and perhaps most importantly, a challenge for us to go forward and do more, and you have really left us with that. We are coming.
The most difficult thing to know, I was just going to say, the most difficult thing to do as a rabbi is not to go religious. But I had to leave that to my dad and Gershon. So if anybody thought, why wasn't Aaron talking about the, I'm leaving that to them.
Well, Aaron, one of the things that we did talk about was the amazing way that actually you and I talked about was the amazing way that God has appeared, that there has been theology spread from the very first panel. We have seen a liberal Jewish theology being talked about right through those beautiful services, both on Erev Shabbat, on Shabbat morning, which was quite incredible, through Monique's service this morning, but also in every single workshop, we have seen a liberal Jewish theology being talked about, being wrestled with, being in collaboration. So you may not have mentioned God specifically by name, but certainly God has been very present, I think, in this conference.
God has been in the house.
God has been in the house, indeed. And I want to invite into our house now exactly those people that you were just referring to. Ruth Seager, our acting chair of Liberal Judaism, and Rabbi Dr. Andrew Goldstein, our president of Liberal Judaism. Oh, and Sharon as well. Why not?
Hello. That's a full smile.
Hello, Ruth. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Sharon. Welcome. Ruth, it's over to you.
Okay. Hello. It's nice to see you again. So I'm sitting here, feeling and overflowing with pride. I am so proud. I am Jewish Mum proud of our movement and everyone who has made this first online biennial the success that it is. To have transferred a biennial from its normal hotel format to an online version would have been a tremendous achievement, even if it had just been okay. But to have created an event of this quality, this richness, depth and variety is truly amazing. The Shabbat morning service was a masterpiece. A masterpiece of singing, flair, technical prowess, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house during our thank you to Danny. Our young people have, yet again, made contributions to the high standard that we've come to expect of them. And we have all heard, learned and thought a great deal about the nature of collaboration. I am humbled to have the honour of being the acting chair of Liberal Judaism. And on your behalf, I have many people to thank, and I'll come to that shortly. Something that I will take away is that being able to collaborate, to work together as a community, you not only need shared objectives and reciprocity, but also shared values. This is a recipe for our success in Liberal Judaism. There will always be a range of views. We'll have our discussions, and we won't agree on everything, but the rabbis, the professional staff, the communities and the trustees are all on the same page. And now it is my pleasure to thank all those who made this biennial at home possible. It's a long list for which I make no apology. So first, I begin with the technical team. Leo Mindel, John Fiber, Alexander Mindel. None of this would have been possible without them. Leo pushed us to think big, and he promised to deliver on that vision, which he did. They have worked tirelessly and they've been on call 24/7 for weeks now. I thank our keynote speakers, Matthew Gould, Lord Daniel Finkelstein, Rabbi Danny Rich, and Ofek Meir, and along with all those presenters whose sessions have provided so much food for thought. The tributes to Simon and Danny were lovely, and we will find time to celebrate again when we can be there in person. I thank the service leaders and those who sang so beautifully, the musicians and the editors of music, the editors and the editorial team of the new Siddur. We thank the committee, which was chaired by Rabbi Rennie Fertzel and included student Rabbi Gabrielle Cantor-Weber, Graham Carpenter, Karen Newman, Rabbi Alex Wright, Rabbi Janet Darley, Jill Rosenheim, Rebecca Singerman-Knight, and Anthony Bilms. We thank Sean Gnan, his team, the curator, Rabbi Miri Lawrence, and the contributors for the creation of Lily's Legacy. And that's the project that records all our Jewish histories. And thanks to Mike Beryl for all the editing provided for this weekend. I thank the staff team led by our very own Charlie, and Tom Rich, who's been the heart and soul of all the logistics. Thank you, Tom. There's Izzy, who will be sorely missed as this is her last event as part of the professional team. There's Simon Rothstein, who, along with Ben, has managed all the comms. Shelley, who's never seen up front, but essential in the back room. Rafe, who you have seen, and Becca, who led the youth team supported by Rosa. I thank those who are always right behind me when I look round for support. And that's my fellow trustees on the Board of National Officers, the SMT of LJ, and our rabbis. I thank the chair of Colrack, Rabbi Aaron Goldstein, and our presidents, Rabbi Andrew Goldstein, for their contributions to this conference, to the movement as a whole, and for their personal support for me. It's much appreciated. Finally, if this biennial isn't living proof of our expertise in collaboration, then I don't know what would be. Thank you all. Thank you for showing up and for taking part. I hope to see you at the next conference, if not before.
Thank you very much, Ruth. What a fantastic thanks of everybody. It's always such a hard job to do at the end of conference. And thank you to you for everything that you've done. And thank you from me for all of the committee and for the staff team. Very much appreciated. And to echo my thanks for Leo and his team, who have just been out of this world. No conference would be complete without a closing from our president and our senior rabbi of our movement, Rabbi Andrew Goldstein. Andrew, it's over to you.
Thank you. The word pride has come up a number of times, and I sit here with an immense pride in the movement. It's been noted that my wife Sharon's sitting next to me, and we have great pride, first of all, in seeing Aaron give such a great presentation, knowing that our daughter Ruth was involved in the singing, that our grandchildren have come up and are so involved with their friends in LJY. It's a great sense of satisfaction. Has been mentioned a number of times that the generations have gone on through the families, but also to notice many names on the screen of people who are new to liberal Judaism, who haven't had that experience of going through our youth movement, but are adding strength to our movement now. I have to say that to see Ruth Seager there leading as our chair has also added something, and to know that even at a time of change, we'll be able to carry on our traditions and know that we have a great future. Well, in terms of my final thoughts, today is Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Sivan is the month of giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai that we'll celebrate at Shavuot on Thursday night and Friday. Rosh Chodesh Sivan found our ancestors in the wilderness, not knowing what the future would hold. And yet the event at Mount Sinai confirmed our identity as a Jewish people, gave us an identity as a people. This conference has been held in a sort of wilderness at a time outside of normal time. And though I can't guarantee this conference has brought us a new revelation of God, although, as I think Ruth said, in the services and in the presentations, we have known very much that we are a religious movement and that God is there in many of our discussions. But this conference has certainly confirmed our identity as liberal Jews. And it's been a revelation that, well, the numbers change. Is it over 1,000? But it's certainly around 1,000 people have gathered. As the Bible said, men, women, and children, and the strangers in our camp. We've gathered as a movement and as a unique family. At Sinai, our people became Am Segulara, special people. And this conference has united us as a Mishpacha Segula, as a special family, a family of liberal and progressive Jews. Today is Rosh Chodesh Sivan. And for me, one of the most perfect prayers that we have in our present prayer book, Siddur Lev Chadash, is the one composed by Rav in the 3rd century. The prayer to be said on Rosh Chodesh or on the Shabbat before. This prayer: Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, may this month of Sivan and the months ahead, and may this weekend that we've spent together be a time of renewal. Grant to our movement and to each of us a long life of peace and blessing, a life of prosperity and health, a life guided by conscience, unmarred by self-reproach or shame, a life exalted by love of Torah and the reverence of the divine, a life in which the longings of our heart may be fulfilled for good. And the final words of this ancient prayer are so especially appropriate at this very moment and this time at which we live. Rav said, may it be the will of the Holy One ever to be praised, that this month bring for us, for our movement, and for the whole house of Israel, life and peace, happiness and joy, deliverance and consolation. And let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Andrew. It is really important now more than ever that liberal Judaism is accessible to all. And that's why Biennial is being delivered completely free of charge for anybody who wishes to access it wherever they are. The weekend, as you have seen, has showcased some of the service and content that is delivered by our amazing rabbinic and lay talent, as well as our collaborative partners. But to continue to do so costs money. It's a difficult time for many of us. And although attending this biennial puts you under no obligation to, I do hope that if you can afford to, you will choose to make your way over to the Liberal Judaism website and make a donation. Every generous donation helps us at Liberal Judaism to continue to serve its members and to continue to be the home for everybody's Jewish story. Thank you.
It's clear that in addition to the challenges that our leadership and staff have had to deal with and have met so beautifully, none of which anyone could have foreseen a few months ago, we've also seen some positive things arise out of it. People who might never have been able to attend our biennial have been able to participate, and our outreach to the wider Jewish world has been more international than ever. A shout out now to members of my community in Texas who joined us from 6 time zones away. And now we turn to a closing song that we will sing together even while far apart. The text comes from the conclusion of the Book of Lamentations. It recognizes immense and terrible changes, the destruction of the center of worship and many deaths, the end of the Jewish world as it had previously been known. And it also looks forward with hope and faith towards a renewal that will bring a redemption utterly different from what had gone before. Turn us to you, O God, and we shall truly be transformed. Renew our days as in the past. It doesn't wish for a repeat of the days of the past, but for a renewal as complete as those that we have known before. This setting of the text is a 3-part round. You can sing one part over and over if you want, or you can try all the parts. Nothing speaks more directly to the notion of collaboration that we've been celebrating at this biennial than singing together in harmony, simple parts combining to make a beautiful fabric. The words are, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha, say that, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem. Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem. So I'm going to sing the song all the way through, and then we will bring together the beautiful voices of Rabbis Rachel Benjamin and Igor Zinkov, and I will join in as well, along with all of you. Please join in singing this bittersweet, hopeful, and beautiful song. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yamenu Kekedem. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yamenu Kekedem.